Tonight on Business Live, Finance Ministry confirms IMF officials will be in Ghana this Tuesday to begin negotiations with the government for an economic program. Meanwhile, an economist rejects claims by a government that it would have abandoned the IMF if it were unsuccessful actually with the revenue target for the e-levy.
And the e-levy, I might be frank. Perhaps it could have helped. If they had raised, it could have helped. But the fiscal debt, the fiscal difficulties are bigger than the e-levy.
Also, energy strategists expect privatization of underperforming state institutions in the downstream petroleum sector, including the Tema oil refinery, as part of IMF conditionalities. More to that as confidence mounts over a bailout potential to bolster investment in Ghana's oil sector, producing less than 200,000 barrels per day. Plus, Ghana Chamber of Mines begins discussion with the Ghana Stock Exchange to get indigenous investors to inject capital into the mining activities.
There will be room also for indigenous, investment, and that is what we are calling for. That is where it all starts from. The opportunity for value creation at the exploration stage is much, much bigger.
We have all these stories and more coming shortly. We'll begin with commodities. Hello, welcome. I'm Charles Ayitey. Tonight, the Finance Ministry has confirmed that the government will officially begin negotiations with the International Monetary Fund for an economic program this Wednesday, the 6th of June. According to the release from the ministry, officials of the fund will arrive in Ghana on Tuesday from Washington, D.C. in the United States. And of course, you can see the release there, which was issued a while ago. And it reads in part that subsequent to the directive by President of the Republic, that's His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Ministry of Finance hereby announces the announcement of engagement with the IMF to support Ghana's economic program. The most important part is the third paragraph, which says the ministry further takes the opportunity to assure Ghanaians of government's commitment to successfully negotiate a program with the IMF in the coming months in support of Ghana's economic recovery. That's from the Ministry of Finance there, with that particular press release indicating informality, the fact that we should be expecting staff from the IMF tomorrow to begin negotiations on that's Wednesday this week. That's Wednesday this week. We shall be keeping an eye on that. Meanwhile, my colleague George Rafi has been following development on the official visit of delegates from the fund and has more in the following Business Desk report.
By the IMF team, which is often described as mission engagement, will primarily focus on data gathering from all the relevant sectors of the economy. It will also help the team get some understanding in terms of government's own program that is pushing forward to stabilize the economy or achieve what some describe as fiscal consolidation. The new IMF is now pushing forward a strategy where any country that requests for a program will come up with their own solutions and then they will give it a stamp of approval. This is to ensure that the expected program gets the full commitment of government and the entire population going forward. After this preliminary engagement, government is expected to put forward an official letter signed by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, on what they want from the IMF. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is expected to lead government delegation in these negotiations with the fund. Sources say one area that will top on the agenda during the discussions is Ghana's rising debt stock. This IMF team is expected to meet President Akufo-Addo, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, Governor of the Bank of Ghana Dr. Ernest Addison, officials of the Finance Ministry and the Bank of Ghana, the Finance Committee of Parliament, and some civil society groups before they jet back to Washington, D.C., USA.
Meanwhile, economist and senior fellow at the IIF, Dr. Said Boachi, has rejected assertions by government that it would have abandoned the IMF program if it were successful with the revenue target for the e-levy. He spoke on the marketplace.
If they had even had the 7 billion they projected, wouldn't have saved this country. It wouldn't. The fiscal hole is bigger than the e-levy. I might be frank. Perhaps it could have helped. If they had, it could have helped. But the fiscal debt, the fiscal difficulties are bigger than the e-levy. You understand that? Because so much rigidity, limited revenue, e-levy. For instance, Ghana's total revenue to GDP is around 15%. Even in Africa here, it is more than 20%. Middle income countries around 22-23% on the average. E-levy couldn't have raised government revenue to GDP ratio to even getting to 18%. And not much was being done regarding expenditure. So e-levy couldn't have even saved the country if what they expected they were able to get. My final question, does this support from the IMF really solve our problems? Is the 17th program, if we go ahead with this deal, we keep going back. So what must we do? What we must do, I've talked about the revenue component. You want to do well, get hold of your resources. Stop the concession approach. You give your own resources and you put it in the hands of private investors. Look, if I establish a company with my own raw material, everything, the government is going to tax me. Why should the government give its own resources to people and turn around to tax them? Basically, we are giving it out. So on the revenue component, that is what the government should do, but on the expenditure in the long term.
Now, as the government seeks an IMF balance of payment program, it is emerging that the bailout will have immense consequences on Ghana's oil sector, which has over the past decade produced less than 200,000 barrels of oil per day. Energy strategist Dr. Ayitey Sulemana tells Joy Business that the program has the potential of shoring up investments to the upstream sector, which has been unattractive actually, to investors due to depleted reserves. He joins us via Zoom with more on his analysis. We're grateful that you could join us, Doctor. Ghana's engagement with the IMF to show up investment in the petroleum sector, how exactly can this play out?
Thank you very much, Charles, and good afternoon to you and to your cherished viewers in Ghana and across the globe. Thank you for having me. So, yes, this is the way I'm looking at it. If you look at the upstream sector, in fact, both upstream and downstream, over the last decade, you notice that we haven't been able to cross the 200,000 of production, 200,000 barrels per stream day of production. And so it is not surprising that as an oil producer and exporter or exporting nation, at this moment in time that oil is enjoying a boom cycle, so to say, we are running to IMF for bailout. You know, that is just telling us that we haven't been able to drive the required benefits that we needed, or that we should have been able to drive in championing this hydrocarbon production. And what is lacking over the years or over the decade is the fact that investment is not actually gone. The right quantum of investment hasn't gone to champion, production into our fields. And also when oil production goes along up to 10 years, fields are bound to deplete. So you need to sustain an investment first to maintain the depleting field, and then also to churn out to potentially look for new reserve. That has not happened. And this also coming to it at a time when we have a capital discipline of a sort, where investment into the hydrocarbon is becoming constrained for the fact that we have that parallel competition between that of hydrocarbon and renewable. So in that case, that is going to be very difficult. And so if you look at our physicals prior to this IMF bailout, our physicals and our fiscal policies and programs hasn't been robust and hasn't been very good. So I feel that those conditions had potential to drive away investors. And now if you are seeking IMF bailout at this point in time that we are doing, what I think will happen is that two things could happen. One thing is the fact that you could get some direct capital injection into your economy where you can direct it, provided the conditions are very flexible for you to direct it to strategic areas that can propel your growth. Then the second aspect is the fact that investors may begin to gain some confidence into the economy because they might see that, okay, now there are kind of some checks and balances that are put in place. So in that context, once investment gain confidence to the economy, I believe it might end up propelling and then beefing up interest of the investor community into the sector that is already suffering from depleting investment.
Indeed, but on the flip side of this expectation, this positive expectation, is the concern about a possible move by the bailouts to privatize various underperforming state institutions in the downstream sector. We're talking of the Tema Oil Refinery and even the ECG, if push comes to shove. How can this really play out, especially from a perspective, and what could be the impact on their, execution?
Yeah, so that's a fact, Charles, and that's one of the things that the government should be expecting. This should be some of the conditions, or this is likely going to be some of the conditionality that will come with it. But for me, I always maintain the fact that if institutions are not performing, even if not 100% privatization, I think we can make partial privatization of a sort. And I've always called for, especially for the fact that in a refinery like this, government has not gotten that needed capital to bring the refinery back to profitability mode or to life. And so when in recent times that we had this decimal capital deal and other things coming to champion investment into the refinery, I saw that as a welcoming news. So yes, if conditionalities are that non-performing institutions or SOEs could be privatized, I think it's something that the government should look at it in a positive light. Because at the end of the day, if they are not performing and it is only privatization that can revitalize these institutions, why not? That should be the way to go. However, I think those critical institutions like ECG and others, it's always areas that government will not like to privatize. Because as long as it goes to private hands, what will happen is that the kind of subsidies that were inherent into the operations of those institutions, the subsidies will go, no doubt about that. And going of subsidies to mean that there will be skyrocketing of tariffs, So this is the way it's going to play out.
Indeed.
So, but at the end of the day, what should happen is that efficiency should drive the day. I mean, efficiency in this institution is what is paramount. Privatization will bring efficiency into this institution. I think it's the way to go. Yeah.
And we're going to be expecting the team in Ghana tomorrow ahead of their meeting on Wednesday. So we'll see how that plays out, especially when the very first round of discussions will begin on Wednesday. But you're still watching Business Live. Away from the IMF, still to come in the bulletin, Ghana Chamber of Mines begins discussions with the Ghana Stock Exchange to get indigenous investors to inject capital into mining activities. More after this break.
There should be room also for indigenous, investment. And that is what we are calling for. That is where it all starts from. The opportunity for value creation at the exploration stage is much, much bigger.
those were your international business stories. We now continue stories back home here in Ghana. The Ghana Chamber of Mines have begun a discussion with the Ghana Stock Exchange to get indigenous investors to inject capital into mining exploration activities. According to the Chamber, this will help boost the country's earnings from mineral resources. Chief Executive of the Chamber, Suleiman Okoni, told some journalists that this is the way to go in making Ghana a mining hub. We have more in this report.
Ghana's mining sector is dominated by foreign investors, signaling low interest by indigenous investors to direct some capital into exploration. According to the Chamber of Mines, having indigenous people invest in exploration is the way to make the country the mining hub for Africa. Chief Executive of the Chamber, Suleiman Okoni, disclosed that the Chamber is engaging the Ghana Stock Exchange to find some solutions.
Indigenous capital for exploration, business in Ghana, I think it's critical. That is where it all starts from. Other countries have done it. Why can't we do the same? We're having a conversation with the Ghana Stock Exchange as well as the Securities and Exchange Commission under the aegis of the Minerals Commission. Hopefully we would be able to come up with a framework that will allow you and I to put our money into our own endowments, because the mineral resources belong to us. And why would we have someone pour his pension funds into our economy, and we are sitting around here and we decide not to do that? Yes, there's room for FDI, but there should be room also for indigenous, investment, and that is what we are calling for. That is where it all starts from. The opportunity for value creation at the exploration stage is much bigger than most other phases of mining. So that is where the target should be. And the good thing is that I think that generally the Ghana Stock Exchange actually agrees with us.
On the concerns of security at the mining concessions, the Chamber fears the activities of illegal miners and intruders are impeding the growth of the industry.
We're getting good collaboration with governments. Governments, especially our sector ministry, is partnering with us to find a sustainable solution. He did a fantastic job by making sure that the vacuum created by the withdrawal of the military was actually addressed by making sure that we had police deployed to the mines. But we still have lots of challenges. It's not the ideal situation for us. So we continue to engage with our ministry and the security services to give us what we really deserve as an industry. So there again, there are some good recommendations that have been made, and we are actually doing these.
The sector has started picking up in the first quarter of the year as a result of the reduction in the withholding tax for small-scale miners.
Now, FBM Bank Ghana Limited has indicated that the bank's operations have not been affected by the implementation of the electronic transaction levy and the linkage of the Ghana card to individual accounts. According to the managing director and newly elected district governor for the Rotary International District 9102, Victor Yao Asante, the bank has put measures in place for formidable digital transaction platforms to avert inconsistencies in the process. He spoke to Joy Business during his appointment.
At the Rotary event, Managing Director of FBM Bank Ghana Limited, Victor Yao Asante, assumed office as Governor of Rotary District 9102, which include Benin, Ghana, Niger, and Togo. He reaffirmed to Joy Business that he will promote other areas in all districts and carry on the work of his predecessors.
So we'll continue to deliver on service, which is our core mandate, to try and work with our communities to solve the problems at the community level, working with the people of the communities. So our mandate is to continue to do those, especially focusing on the areas of service that we like, what we call the 7 areas of focus. Mother and child health, environment, and economic empowerment. So these are the things we'll be doing in the districts to try and make sure we continue to help districts our Rotary way.
According to him, the operations of the bank has not been affected by the directives from the government on the Ghana card and the electronic transfer levy.
Well, it's a policy. It's a policy. We are citizens. So once the policy is passed, we just implement it. We just go ahead with it. And we've been asked as a collective organization to implement a policy of government. So we are happy to do that. Ghana card is just to help us do a KYC. So they've asked us to target to. So we started and we've done that also. so far so good. We'll see how it goes. I believe they are still registering, so you should still register. So it started today. Today the implementation started. There was no client who complained that they couldn't get access to banking because they didn't have a Ghana card. Because we have gone ahead and done for almost all, if not all.
Mr. Asante's role as district governor calls for him to oversee the activities of the international humanitarian organization in the 4 nations that make up his district, ensuring the effective delivery of aid and benefit to underprivileged groups and individuals in line with the organization's goal.
Now, the Canada-Ghana Chamber of Commerce has said it will keep stepping up its efforts to facilitate trade and promote businesses operating in Canada and Ghana. According to its Executive Secretary, Edwina Atasonu, the Chamber will come up with various initiatives that will consolidate the relationship between both countries to boost economic growth. She spoke to Joy Business at the celebration of Canada Day in Ghana.
Canada Day is an important occasion in the lives of Canadians. The day is set aside to promote Canadian culture and tourism globally. At the event, the Executive Secretary for the Canada-Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Edwina Atasonu, said this is one of the ways Ghanaian businesses can reach out to the Canadian community.
So even though this is a cultural event, it's being participated by businesses in Ghana and in Canada. Now, as a chamber, participating in this event has brought about 2 or 3 more companies to the chamber, and it's also further we're going to deepen relationship between Ghana and Canada. So even though it's a cultural event, it still has the trade and the business implications to it.
Chief Executive Officer for the Global Celebration Canada, Mohamed Ahmed Enin, explained that this is to build the relationship between Ghana and Canada.
In Toronto, we have that privilege to celebrate Ghana this much. So I think it's, and looking at the relationship between Ghana and Canada, if we do this here, I think it's appropriate to strengthen our friendship. Yeah, I think, like we all know, we have a good rapport and relationship in the sense that, I mean, if you look at the mining industry, all the big companies are Canadians. Ashanti Gold and what have you, they're all Canadian companies, but we don't know. You understand? So I think we have a good end. For Canadians seeing that we're doing this here in our land, of course, I think in future, if we're looking for anything, they'll consider us in all respect.
And we have more news on myjoyonline.com. I'm Charles Ayitey. Many thanks for watching. And you can see the stories that you can check out on my Joy Online when it comes to business, sports, politics and entertainment. That's it for the show. We're grateful that you could join us. Please stay tuned for more programs.